recapping Week 2 in the Mountain West.
College football is back, and we're back on the Big Mountain with some reactions to Week 2.
Hey, welcome back to the Big Mountain. I'm JY. This is my good friend Steve. We are going to go over the Mountain West in Week 2, give you some of our reactions. I watched a fair amount of football. Let's start with the big game, then I'm going to go to my surprise game, and then I'll talk about some other games. But the big game here, of course, UCLA versus UNLV ends up 30-23. We had about 36,000 people there in Vegas. They got to see a pretty darn entertaining game.
Yes.
And really kind of a tale of two halves, Steve. You had UNLV dominating the first half. They looked fantastic. Second half, man, a little bit different. And I'll tell you, that third quarter, I had to go back and look because UNLV only had the ball one time in the third quarter. So UCLA started with the ball. They have a big, long drive. UNLV got the ball. They were 3 and out. They had it for 1 minute of 15 minutes. So UCLA had the ball for 15 minutes in the third quarter. And I was getting a little worried by the end of that third quarter. I texted you, "Ruh-roh, what's going on?" And I knew that next possession for UNLV, they had to get points. Of course, I wanted a touchdown, but as long as they were going to get some points there, which they did, and that really capped it off for them. The game ends here with UCLA actually outgaining UNLV, 428-354. UNLV solid on third downs, 5 out of 10. UCLA only 3 out of 13, but they did go on fourth down a lot, something that you really like. And they were 4 for 5 on fourth downs, and really they needed that in early on, especially for them to stay out there to give their defense a break in the first half. They were able to convert some of those fourth downs. UCLA did turn the ball over twice. UNLV did not turn it over at all. Calandria here, he is just getting more and more confident here under Coach Mullen and the whole team. I mean, I've watched all 3 of their games, and my goodness gracious, they are not only are they 3-0, but they are getting better and better and better every game. Calandria 15-21, 203 yards, 3 touchdown passes to 3 different receivers. Shout out to tight end Gums. He had a really nice game, 3 for 40 and a touchdown. And Omire, I have to give him a shout out. Only 2 receptions, one of those being a touchdown, but he was noticeable all night in blocks and in other things. He really looks like he's stepping up his game here as well. So defense looked really good. Again, they had those two takeaways. They had 2 sacks, 5 tackle for losses. Brown with the interception. He was kind of the guy early on making some comments that were kind of taken out of context. But hey, he shows up and he gets that pick off a McDuffie tip, and whew, it was a good game. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, so I saw about half of this game, and honestly, I think this is a game where UNLV got out to a great start. They got a lead. They played great. And then maybe at a certain point in the second half, they kind of took their foot off the gas, tried to just kind of bleed the clock or whatever, where UCLA was then in desperation mode.
Yes.
And they're giving it everything they got. Mm-hmm. But overall, a good game. I'm going to save my thoughts on UCLA because we're going to do another video. We're going to have some reactions, give some more thoughts about UCLA. So I'll just focus my thoughts on UNLV.
Yeah.
Again, like I said after week 1, I think this coaching staff really, really good. I think they will continue to coach these players. The players will come together and improve. And all of the issues that we saw in week 1, everything, and I said at the time, those are issues that can be fixed with coaching, with practice, with communication as time goes on. And I think every week we're seeing more and more improvement. We saw that this week. Now they get a week off. I agree with you on Calandria. And I think, I called Dan Mullins maybe the best play caller in college football. Mm-hmm. And I think we have that connection. He has found his quarterback. Yep. He has found his guy. And Calandria is playing great. So just a great win for UNLV all around. They get that much needed week off. And now that they've played 3 games, right? The players have seen the system. They've seen they can win in it. Yeah. And the coaches have seen what the players can do, can't do.
Yes.
They can kind of go back to the drawing board, take that week off, watch some film, regroup, and get ready for the rest of the season. But they've set themselves nicely. A 3-0 start, a win over a Big Ten, an out-of-conference win over a Big Ten team. Mm-hmm. If I'm a UNLV, I know all the UNLV fans were sweating after the first game.
Yeah.
They were sweating in the second half of this game. Yeah. But really, if you look at the big picture, they should feel really good about where they are right now. Again, 3-0, great win for UNLV.
Well, and now that they're 3 weeks in, you couldn't ask for any more. Like you said, 3-0. They get a bye week now. Now they have actual game tape. They have seen the this was a whole new team.
Yes,
tons of transfers. We know Jet Thomas was back, McDuffie was back, but man, most of these players have not played together before or played under this coaching staff before. So to come out of these three with a big win against UCLA, you're 3-0. You get that bye week. There's so much that can happen here now in these next 2 weeks. I did just want to say Orji only, I think, was on for one play. He got an injury. He left. So I haven't seen any updates on him and what that injury looks like, but he was pulled out of the game and didn't return. So.
Yeah, they got 2 weeks, and he's not the starter. Like you said,
right.
Calandra has established himself as a starter. Orji's going to be one of those guys where he's A, the backup, and B, coming in for special packages here and there. So it is what it is.
And Calandra said last night, I came here for Dan Mullen.
Yeah. I
want to play with Dan Mullen. And so far, so good for both of them.
So far, how would you grade the Dan Mullen hire? We talked coming into the season. Great guy, but you were a little worried here and there. What's your thoughts now after 3-0?
I mean, you got to love it, right? I mean, there's nothing. They can't be any better than that. So.
Yeah.
And they're answering. It's not just they're 3-0, but to me, they're answering questions every week. I'm seeing improvement, literally week over week over week. You can't ask for any more than that. So let's get to the big surprise here: San Diego State versus Washington State, 36-13. Wazzu kind of has their way with them here. 24,000-ish people there up in Pullman. Total yards here, 215 to 202.
Woof.
And I was surprised. Like, I locked this game. I was really good on my picks this week. This one I was a big miss on. And let me go over just a couple stats, and then I'll give you just some of my thoughts. I watched some of the game. I didn't watch the whole game. But San Diego State with only 110 rushing yards. That's when you remove sack yards. A lot of lost yards there with sacks and things on 30 attempts. So they were trying to run the ball. They were trying to get fast, but man, it just wasn't working on them. They were only 15% on third downs, 2 of 13. Washington State a little bit better, 5 of 18 at 28%. The good thing for both teams, nobody turned the ball over, so that's good. You got to love that there's no turnovers. But Deigo here, the quarterback for the Aztecs, 15 of 30 for 133 yards. He had a touchdown passing and a touchdown running, so he was the reason for the 2 touchdowns. Potter here looked much better this game, 28 of 42, 257 yards, and 3 touchdowns for that kid. I think we just have 2 not real strong teams here. Like, after week 1, the Aztecs really got that. Now, I know they were playing Stony Brook, but still, they put up decent points. They had a shutout. I thought they were going to come up here to Wazzu, really keep things rolling, and man, they did not put out in this game at all. So I just think we got 2 weak teams.
I honestly think you have to wipe off what happened against Stony Brook.
Yeah.
Just because they're just such a low-level team. And maybe San Diego State is who you thought they were going to be coming into the season.
Right.
And the win over Stony Brook and all the points and yards was maybe smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
And this is just what they are.
Yes. I think that's kind of what it is. Now, I'm not going to, put them both in the garbage can yet. But to your point, they're back to who I kind of assumed they were going to be. Yeah, I overstated them coming out of Stony Brook, no doubt.
And to be fair to the Cougs, this was like a completely rebuilt team. No one was expecting anything.
Yeah.
So if anything, this is I know we're pumping the brakes. We're not going to say like they're going to be awesome. But this is a good win for them.
100%. So, scoring 36. I mean, the Aztecs still have a good defense. Absolutely. This is a good win for Washington State. There's no 2 ways about that. But I just still think 2 teams that are just, they're kind of mediocre.
Yep.
Let's get to Wyoming. They have an impressive win here over NIU, 31-7. So now through 2 games, the defense here has only allowed 7 points in those 2 games. I know everybody, it's Akron and it's NIU. I don't really care. I want to see progress. I want to see this team doing better, and they are. Now they play Utah here in week 3. Certainly a different test. We'll see what they got there. I'm not going to say this is, one of the best Wyoming defenses ever, but hey, through 2 games, 7 points allowed. I don't care who they're playing. Any team would take that.
Yep.
Yards here, 390 to 170, so very similar to game 1. The Pokes really moving the ball, finally scoring points here in this game. Anderson looked much more composed here than he did in Akron. He was 17 of 23 for 167 and 2 touchdowns. He did have an injury there late in the game. Sims came in, made some nice completions. And Anderson's status is unknown, as I've seen. I think it's a right hand thing. It's not a concussion issue. Definitely a right hand thing. And we're going to have to wait and see. But I think they're gearing up for Sims to probably start here versus Utah. And if there's any question to Anderson's health, it's the same thing as Alejado there for Hawaii. Sit the kid. It's about your Mountain West games here in a few weeks. So I trust Salvell and what he's going to do there. The 2 rushing touchdowns went to Sam Scott again. Harris had a nice one. And I got to give a shout out to the coaches here. They had... They had Kelman finished as the top running back with 7 carries and 87 yards. But they used the whole stable here. 5 different backs. Most of them being about 8 carries, so it's not like we saw in Akron where Sam Scott, especially in the first half, all we saw was Scott. They absolutely spread the wealth. It was good to see, get all these guys some touches. The 2 receiving touchdowns here, not a surprise. J-Mike, Chris Durr, gonna be the beast there in terms of the receivers, touchdowns and yards and everything. And again, we got week 3 in Laramie versus Utah. But hey, good start to the season here, 2-0 for the Pokes.
Good win for Wyoming. Wyoming fans should feel real good, especially after last season. There wasn't a lot to celebrate last season. Starting 2-0. That's going to be a big game in Laramie against a Utah team that I think is really, really, really good.
So let's get to the Fresno-Oregon State game. Another game I was really interested in seeing here. Not 100% sure where these teams exactly were going to be. I did pick Fresno getting the points. They don't need them. They win 36-27. Again, a nice win here for the Bulldogs. They are very one-dimensional here. Warner just struggling at quarterback. 13 of 18. Okay, that's not bad. 121 with an interception. He did have a rushing touchdown, but this team is very one-dimensional in terms of a running game versus what their passing game is. And people are starting to get tape on this kid. And he's just not overly impressive. He was my big question. Well, the quarterback situation for the Bulldogs was my biggest question mark. And it's probably bigger now that I see the passing game than it was in the preseason. Luke here was the top back. He has 86 yards with a touchdown. Defense was absolutely solid, kind of a bend, don't break. They gave up the yards, didn't necessarily give up the points. Overall here, I thought it was a good game. I think Oregon State, Malik Murphy had a great game. 31 of 48, 371 yards, 4 touchdowns, did throw 2 interceptions, and Hankerson with a nice game on the ground, 136 yards on 25 carries. Just some question marks with these teams. They're going to be good. They're both good teams this year. I think there's too many question marks for them to be great teams this year, but a good future pack. Conference game here between the Bulldogs and the Beavers.
I think if you're Fresno, you got to be feeling good. The vibe I got coming into the season from AD Classy and the coaching staff was, they were looking at this year kind of a rebuilding year, see what they had, really just kind of lay a foundation to build upon going forward into future seasons. They got some momentum going. Again, this is a good win for them. And as far as the Beavs, disappointing. I said I liked Malik Murphy coming there from Duke before the season started. It sounded like, and I really thought because they had a solid season last year, you bring in a good quarterback, and they should be able to maybe do at least as good as they did last year, maybe improve a little bit, and they're not looking so hot. So, stock down for the Beavs, and I like the momentum that the Bulldogs have going.
Well, and I think the Beavs have a good team, but they're now 0-2. This team could be 0-4, maybe 0-5 to start this season. They got some hard games coming up. Their 5th game's against Houston. I get it. That's a winnable game, but man, they could be an 0-4-0-5 start to the season, which Beavers fans would not be happy with. And they had this club being a 7-8 win team.
Well, and they play Washington State twice this year with that unique scheduling, and we thought maybe they could beat Washington State twice. Well, they're looking a little underwhelming, and Washington State just got a nice win. So maybe that's not in the bags for them.
So last one I'm going to talk about kind of heavily, and then I'll hit all the other ones real lightly. Hawaii beat Sam Houston here 37-20. So Alejandro actually did sit out this game. He played Arizona, re-injured his foot. He was in a boot actually earlier in the week. So Luke Weaver, he fills in and he does a great job. 27 of 43, just under 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. Of course, your boy Ashlock, the main go-to receiver. He's that deep threat. 125 yards on 7 receptions, 2 touchdowns. Sims had the other touchdown, and the defense had an interception return for a touchdown too early on in that game. And it was close. Here after 3 quarters, Hawaii was only up 7 points, able to put on a lot of points there at the end, 17 points. They beat the spread. They go over. They hit two picks that I had for Hawaii. They hit them both for me with, the backup, if you will, quarterback. But with that receiving core, that team is going to put up points. Great to see them starting here 2-1, Steve.
Yeah, great win for Hawaii. Great job. I love it's Perfeli Ashlock. I think
Yes.
Perfeli is his first name.
Yep.
Loved meeting him in person. Thought he would have a great year, and he is. I'm hoping it would be so awesome. Maybe we can have him on one more time.
Yeah.
Sometime during the season or just after the season, have him on the show again. That would be really cool.
Yep.
Because he's having a great season. Hawaii's having a great season. I will say, if there's one I'm going to say one negative thing is, and I think you'll agree, is I think this just reiterates to me that Timmy Chang and the coaching staff, they made a mistake by not sitting Alejandro last week, and it kind of compounded that mistake.
Yep.
They get the win this week, but imagine if he would have been able to sit out both of these games,
Right.
get him fully healthy and ready
Yep.
for Mountain West play.
Yep.
But that's really the only thing negative I can say, because they're 2-1.
2-1. They got Portland State coming out there this week, so
Right.
I would guess Luke Weaver's probably going to play. I mean, unless Alejandro is 100%, which I don't think he's going to be.
Right.
Let Weaver play against Portland State. Portland State has been
Awful.
horrendous to start the season. No need for him. Let that kid rest up. You've got a great backup here in Weaver, and yeah, we'll get into Mountain West play then. So San Jose, I'll go breeze through these last couple. San Jose State, Texas, 38-7. San Jose State here does beat the spread, but my gosh, the second quarter was a freaking turnover fest.
Yeah.
It was awful. They had a great first half. I mean, for an away game at Texas, a team that was upset losing to Ohio State, they had a great first quarter. I'm like, just keep it close. Do your thing, run the ball, But my gosh, they just started to fumble and this and that. The second quarter was ridiculous. They played a decent second half. Texas was in control at that point, but they finished with 4 turnovers. My gosh, they start 0-2, not where they want to be. Certainly would want to beat Central Michigan, be at 1-1. But they get Idaho here next Saturday, and let's get in the win column and let's get going here. San Jose State.
Yeah, and from the bits I saw, they didn't look like they were completely outclassed by a team that started number 1 in the country at the beginning of the season.
Yep.
And they got their whole Mountain West future or the whole Mountain West season in front of them.
Right.
It is what it is.
Yeah. Utah State, Texas A&M, 44-22. Again, another team. I took the points. They beat the spread, so I was happy with the Spartans and the Aggies here. They really just couldn't get their running game going all day. Barnes finished 15-30, 169, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Can you ask much more from that kid playing Texas A&M?
No.
I don't think so. And they have their first Mountain West game here this Saturday versus Air Force. I'm very anxious for this game. Right now, I did see right when we're taping this here on Sunday night, Air Force, the line is minus 3.5. Air Force is the faves. I'm actually surprised it's that close.
Yeah.
I thought it may be a little bigger than that. So
problem is Air Force low scoring, run the ball,
and then we don't. It was still early in the season.
Air Force being up 3.5 is like another team being up a touchdown in the odds.
Yes. Friday night we had Boise. They got their swagger back. They beat Eastern Washington 51-14. Good way to kind of bounce back after a disappointing loss. But USF here starting 2-0. They're beating Florida this past. I mean, USF might be the team to beat here in the G6. So, but Boise did a good job here on Friday night.
Yep, I'm going to talk a little bit about USF during my 10 big things episode that we'll film next.
Okay.
I will just say I saw very little of this game. I saw Matson dropping dimes, though.
He was
Maddox
all over
he was just dropping dimes all over the field, which is a good sign. He didn't have the greatest game week 1. Well, none of the Boise team had the greatest game. So, and yes, and that USF loss looks less and less bad, and now they beat Florida.
For sure. New Mexico moves to 1-1. They beat Idaho State. That was a team that gave UNLV fits there a couple weeks ago. So good job there for Jason Eck and the Lobos. After a good showing against Michigan in week 1, they come up with a victory. And I think they're going to have a lot of close games this year. I'm not sure what their win-loss record is going to be, but they're going to be in pretty much every game that they play. Anxious to be able to get to watch them. I haven't been able to watch much of them here so far this year. The two scares of the week, Nevada and Colorado State. Both of these teams almost lost to FCS teams. They were losing late in the game to FCS teams. Nevada here, they beat Sac State, but it didn't look good for a little while. They beat them 20-17. Purdy really struggled throwing the ball, but his running game was on 21 times, 115 yards, and a touchdown. Little surprising there. I know Sac State's kind of like nobody really knows who they are. And
they're not your typical, the talent they brought in, they're not your typical FCS team.
Yes, for sure. But so Nevada ekes one out there, and then Colorado State with ending drive there by Fowler Nicolosi, and they beat Northern Colorado 21-17. Some controversy there kind of towards the end. I'm still concerned with this Rams team. I mean, I thought they put up pretty good against Washington, but man, they come home for their home opener and almost get beat by Northern Colorado. Fowler Nicolosi here, 13-25, 132 yards and a pick. Ugh. That's not good.
And that's one of those things similar to the Stony Brook, but kind of opposite. With San Diego State, Stony Brook, and then Colorado State versus Washington, you really can't glean very much when there's such a disparity. Because sometimes they just absolutely crush them. Sometimes the one team is like, we can beat these guys with our hands tied behind our back.
Right.
And honestly, I think it goes back to similar with San Diego State. You had concerns about Colorado State coming into the season. And there was a little bit of smoke and mirrors against Washington. And then you're like, well, actually, maybe they're pretty good. Well, now they are who you thought they were.
We'll see. It looks like it. 2 weeks, still small-ish sample size. But I'd say now after 2 weeks, for the most part, these teams are about what I was expecting them to be here in the preseason. So, hey, there we are after 2 weeks. Of course, we do live pick episodes every Wednesday night. I pick every Mountain West game. Would love to have you join us on those, or you can check it out after the fact. So, hey, with that, make sure you give this one a like and you subscribe if you like our content, and we'll see you next time on The Big Mountain.